Heidi here from Rain Country. God is good all the time. And I'm here today to talk about the importance of vetting the information that you're gathering from your different sources. We're all going to have our favorite places we like to go to get our information, but keep in mind, every place, if you're talking about certain websites and stuff, every place is going to be a little bit controlled to some degree. Some things are going to be based on opinion. When we're going to different various people, whether it be me, Barbara O'Neill, or whoever, everybody's still going to have their own ideas and bents, and not everything is necessarily as factual as it may seem. Experience is, of course, incredibly important. And so thus, those are the kind of people I'm going to also look at, is not just the ones that are most knowledgeable, but those who have the most experience, whether it be working within their own selves, their own family, or working with other people and working with different herbs, or whatever the case may be in accordance to the type of information you're gathering. But you also have to realize that everyone's going to have an opinion. And their opinion is going to be based on their own personal research. And you cannot be certain that that one person that you're listening to didn't get that research from only one source that may have been incorrect. Any of us can do that. I have made that mistake many times. I have even, over the past 8 years of my channel, shared inaccurate information that I then had to go back and correct. And sometimes I'll do that in the form of a short, or just bringing it up in a this and that video, or anytime I'm able to correct a mistake that I've made in something that I learned that was inaccurate or incorrect information. And the other thing you have to realize, especially when you're looking at things like supplements, herbs, any kind of home remedy type situation, and I say this again and again, is that just because this particular herb or this particular way of doing things worked really good for this particular person, and even maybe their whole family and everybody helped that way, that does not mean that is the right choice for you. So this again is where I constantly am stressing the idea of personal responsibility. We get ourselves, and I'm including myself in this, I am just as guilty as anyone else. We get ourselves in the habit of just basically being spoon-fed information from whatever our favorite source is, without more deeply looking into it. Now, I have to say that having my own channel I've always been one that likes to do her own research. However, having my own channel caused me, and then making mistakes and having to be corrected on it, caused me to be more intentional in the way that I looked up information and compiled my information. Instead of just trusting my favorite source to tell me what I wanted to hear, I started looking at different sources, even those that may seem to be opposite of what I may stand for. And I use this one a lot when it comes to looking at anything related to health, such as the benefits of certain types of herbs, what causes certain health conditions, and so on and so forth. And that is, instead of just relying on websites that only get, that talk about things from a natural perspective, I also look into those sites that are medical based. I also look into the National Institute of Health, which is a .gov site, which for a lot of people that means, oh, you can't trust them because they're .gov. Well, you can't trust any of these one places by themselves, the truth be known. And anyone can say that anyone has an agenda. A lot of people that have websites have money to be made because they get paid from all of your clicks. So sometimes they're just selling you an idea so they can get more clicks. Or they could be good, honest people like myself that are just trying to relay information that they've learned that may simply have gotten something wrong. And so you can't always rely on any one person alone. You've got to compile your information, do the deeper research and take the personal responsibility, especially when it comes to your own health, because you're going to have your own different health conditions, things that you're allergic to. So maybe you can't take any herb that's made from an aster because you have ragweed allergies and so much more. And so you have to look into that for yourself. And if you're already on a medication, adding certain herbs to that are supposed to have the same properties as this synthetic medication can either create too much of that, or it can cancel out the medication in the first place. I think if it's canceling out the medication, then you're just better off going with the herb. But regardless, you still have to do the deep research for yourself. It is hard work. It takes time. And it can be too easy just to skim through things and look for the information we want and disregard everything else, no matter what the site is. And then to get in the habit of just repeating something somebody else said. I'm going to bring up a new one I just heard, and I'd never heard this before. And it is an understandable concern when you first hear it. But a lot of times you got to realize these little things, and I will get to it, are sometimes, again, spread by people who are either misinformed because they didn't look more thoroughly into it, or they're saying these things because it gets them clicks, which thus earns them more revenue. Always take all these things into consideration. So I recently had somebody come in on the video where I was showing my last Azure Standard purchases, where I thought I would go ahead and try the Azure Standards vitamin D3 that was in a capsule form, just to see if I had different results with that than I did with the gel caps I'd been taking from Now Foods for many years, and then suddenly started having issues with it. Those issues being every time they start taking them, they actually cause my hair to fall out rather than the other way around. So anyway, what this person told me is that please be careful, because vitamin D3 is often made with cholecalciferol, and that is used in rat poison. That's really scary when you hear that, isn't it? That's pretty scary. I could do something similar by telling you that your favorite kombucha that you're buying from the store is made with dihydrogen monoxide. Oh, how scary. It sounds scary, right? Especially since it ends with monoxide. We always seem to associate that with a toxic gas. Well, dihydrogen monoxide is the chemical name for water. The cholecalciferol is the chemical name for vitamin D3. It does not mean that it in and of itself is toxic. However, yes, it is used in rat poison, and it is used in high quantities because it will do the same thing in rats that it can do in humans if you're constantly taking high quantities of D3 without the balance of vitamin K2. And that is, it causes a buildup of calcium and phosphorus in their system. And so this is why you have to have a balance. So then on the other side of that, you'll get people that get on the D3 bandwagon or the D3/K2 bandwagon and just are screaming at everybody that they need to be taking at least 5,000 IUs, 10,000 IUs, or whatever of vitamin D3, that everybody needs it. That's the one that gets me. Everybody needs to be taking that, or everybody needs to be taking iron supplements, or you don't hear that one as much as you used to, but the one I hear a lot is everybody needs to be taking iodine. Well, that is just simply not true. Is it possible that most people might need more vitamin D3 or iodine in their diet? Absolutely. However, that we should stop making these blanket statements saying that everybody needs that. You've got people writing books and convincing people that this is what everybody should be doing. However, taking vitamin D3 even with vitamin K2, because vitamin K2 in a supplement form is pretty much ineffective. You really need to be getting your K2 from food. So you're still going to end up having the same issues if you're taking too much, which can cause that buildup of too much calcium within your system. And anytime you have anything weird that happens after you start taking anything, stop. Don't listen to the hype that, oh, it's just the Herxheimer's effect, or it's your body trying to detox. Most of the time, that is not the case. That is your body saying that you've got too much of something and it's trying to flush it out. So if you're taking too much vitamin D3, too much iodine, too much iron, your body's going to have all kinds of different reactions, rashes and more, because rashes is another way that your body pushes toxins out. And you start, vomiting or having diarrhea or some of these other things. That's a sure sign you're getting too much of something and your body is trying to detoxify, and most likely trying to detoxify from whatever it is you've started taking. And so you need to listen to your body. Our Father made our bodies to be intelligent, and so we got to just use a little bit of common sense instead of just listening to people that say, oh, your body's just detoxing. I've seen people do this where they'll get on a certain diet where they eliminate a whole bunch of a certain kind of food, and that can be any of them, okay? And that person starts having more and more health problems. Their teeth start getting loose, they start falling out, they start having skin problems, they start getting weak, they're nauseous all the time, they never have a proper bowel movement. And people within that are so sold on this particular diet are telling them, just keep going, just keep going, just keep going. All you're doing is your body's just detoxing. It will get better. And yet those people continually get worse and worse and worse, and they'll stay on this for months or even years while their health continues to degrade, and they start losing all their hair as well. I'm not saying you shouldn't try some of this stuff if you think it's best for your own personal health, but we should also stop demonizing all other foods because we've chosen to cut that out. It doesn't matter if it's meat, grains, dairy, or whatever, because somebody else needs that food. So just because your little niche that's what they're doing and that's working for you, that's working for them, it doesn't mean it's the right thing for everybody else. That's the other thing I really get tired is people demonizing good, healthy foods. I'm not talking about the stuff that's been genetically modified or has got it's just flat out fake. I'm talking about the real stuff, like good, healthy, whole grains that are organic and raised properly. Same thing with the meats, meats that haven't had all the injections and they're not made in a lab, and you got a group of people that want to demonize all that and demonize all dairy. Remember when they used to demonize eggs? For the longest time, eggs were demonized, and now all of a sudden they're like, in at least certain groups, they're the healthiest food there is, which I agree that eggs are very healthy, but I also agree that other things that are getting demonized now are very healthy as long as you're eating the right kind. So again, this comes down to your own personal responsibility, to listening to your own body, to doing your own proper research and vetting all that information you get. Don't hear something one time and jump on the bandwagon and go, and start, the sky is falling. Look it up. So just like I had never heard of that name for vitamin D3, and I'm like, well, that's interesting. So I looked it up. I did some research. Okay, that's the chemical name, just like dihydrogen monoxide is the chemical name for water. Okay, so I shouldn't be afraid of that because of that. Now, is it used in rat poison? Yes, it is. Why is it used? And understanding all that, you got to look all into that rather than just suddenly being afraid of that supplement that you're taking. Now, I will say, generally speaking, when it comes to most supplements, most of them, I do still think it's best to try to get it from good, healthy food sources. So when you're talking about vitamin D3, it's already naturally combined with K2 within the foods that it's naturally found in. And that's going to be a lot of your different animal products, such as egg yolks, butter, fatty fish, and more. So it's already properly combined. So when we're eating properly, because the great creator knew exactly what our bodies needed, knew exactly the proper amounts that would prevent it from becoming toxic and also help it to be more bioavailable within the body. So that's why, though I absolutely not against supplementation, because a lot of times we're dealing with different health issues. I'm going to be more apt to start taking more vitamin C at certain times, but I don't take it every day. I don't need it every day. But if I got a cold coming on or whatever, I'm going to be taking my elderberry syrup and some of the other things that I make. I have a whole slew of things that I make and take for these things. But oftentimes I'll also start taking vitamin C on top of all that, just to make sure I'm knocking it out or preventing myself from getting worse. So of course I am not against supplementation. But if we're going to be, if we got all this scary stuff coming out about, don't take calcium by itself, don't take vitamin D3 by itself. Well, how about we look at the foods that already naturally contain all these things together? Calcium is almost always found, when you're finding it in a whole food source, is almost always found with the combination of potassium and or magnesium and or manganese. Most cases, all four of those will be within that same food. And also when people are trying to fearmonger against certain foods, and we're seeing it worse and worse all the time, certain things people used to always eat or take. And I'm going to give another couple of examples, and this is one I've heard more recently quite frequently, is people freaking out about eating mango skins. It's because they hear one thing and they don't look into all the facts. And let me tell you, I have a lot of people that follow me that live in more tropical places where mangoes grow like crazy. And those places, they typically eat the mangoes with the skin in its raw form without any issues. Now, does that mean that everybody should eat mango skins? No, because some people will be allergic to it and will have a reaction. I have tried mango skin, didn't care for the flavor, so I saved the mango skin and pits for making vinegars with. And I'm absolutely not afraid of it. And my mango vinegars always turn out really, really good. They have a nice flavor and they haven't killed me. Okay, I've had no issues with it. I've had no outbreaks. I've had no itchiness. I'm not allergic to it. So it's not a problem for me. So just because this person over here shouldn't eat mango skins doesn't mean it's bad for you. You may not like them because they're kind of bitter and nasty, but there's good nutrients in those skins. So at least use them to make vinegar instead of tossing them out. But also find out if you have a reaction to it, it's not for you. It doesn't mean it's bad for everyone. So anyway, that's pretty much all I wanted to say. Just a reminder, the importance of taking your own personal responsibility of vetting all the information you have coming in, especially if something sounds fishy or you've never heard it before. Just some food for thought. I hope you enjoyed this video. Thanks for watching. Take care and God bless.